who's FICCI MSME chair of the committee. He will be delivering the welcome address, and Mr. Mitra from NSE will be moderating the session. And a big welcome for all the speakers, Ms. Pusari from National Stock Exchange and other speakers. Thank you for joining us today, all the participants. We have about 57 now, and I think more will be joining. Thank you, and I will hand over to Mr. R.K. Chaji to deliver the welcome.
Thank you, Mosmi. Good afternoon to all of you. On behalf of FICCI WBSC, I take great pleasure in extending a warm welcome to all of you to the webinar organized by FICCI West Bengal State Council and NSE. Today we have with us Ms. Rachna Bhusari, Vice President NSE SMEBD, Mr. Sanjay Goenka, Director of Hindcon Chemicals Limited, who will be sharing his experience today. We have with us Mr. Gaurav Jain, Director at Hemp Securities Limited, and Dr. Mau Sen. She is the Joint Director and Director at MSME, Government of West Bengal. And the session will be moderated by Mr. Dipan Mitra of NSE. With the major outbreak of the COVID-19 global pandemic, the economy is witnessing a triple shock from the supply side, demand side, and the financial sector side as well. According to latest UNCTAD data, the global trade values have declined by 3% in the first quarter of this year, and downturn is expected to accelerate in the second quarter. MSMEs is one of the sectors most severely impacted. Today, we are meeting at a time when the COVID-19 pandemic poses a significant threat to mainstream industry and commerce. It will be even more devastating to small and medium enterprises, as large number may not survive the economic impact of this crisis. The issue affects SMEs effectively worldwide. However, it is especially pronounced in emerging markets like India, where access to capital is usually more constrained than developed markets. The common challenge that SMEs face is a lack of access to appropriate capital, both from the banking sector and from capital markets due to stringent conditions attached. Besides, there are problems in over-leveraging debts through loans, resulting in capital structure distortion. It is therefore essential that SMEs are enabled to access the capital market. In these tough times, exchanges have stood in support of SMEs and startups so that they can raise funds to keep their businesses running and growing. In the times to come, the listed SMEs will become globally competitive and offer a significant contribution to India's economic development and job creation. Friends, today's interaction will throw light on alternate source of funding and listing of SMEs. It's very pertinent and timely to organize this webinar in West Bengal. West Bengal's MSME sector holds a key position in India. West Bengal has around 90 lakh enterprises, according to 14% of the total number of SMEs in the country. It has emerged as one of the most dynamic sectors in the country, in West Bengal. With these words, I once again welcome all the dignitaries and my friends from industry to the webinar. And now I hand it over to Mr. Dipan Mitra to conduct this session. Thank you all. Mr. Dipan Mitra.
Thank you, Mr. Sajid, for giving that introduction and setting the tone. I think it is a challenging time where most of the business houses, they're facing the challenge of the pandemic, and they're coming up with ways as to deal with it. And I think today's webinar is really apt because we have been hearing a lot on the financing aspect of the SMEs for some time now. So to carry on with the proceedings, I think we'll get the speakers. But before that, I would like Dr. Mo Shen, Joint Director, Directorate of MSME, Government of West Bengal, to give her special address, and also let us know as to how the government is actually helping the MSME in these times, and what are the avenues that is there. So, Ms. Sen, if you can just highlight.
Thank you, Mr. Mitra. We from Government of West Bengal, especially from Department of MSME, we thank FICCI for organizing such an wonderful and very timely required session on IPO. Just while coming to directly to the point, I would like to say a few words, because what we feel that today we will basically want to listen from people from NSC and other business participants who will be the speaker here. So just a few words is like that. That access to adequate and timely credit is one of the significant challenges to MSMEs, because the problem is not only affects the new ventures but also the existing entrepreneurs who want to grow. Without adequate and timely credit, their sustainability becomes a question. Besides, there are problems in over leveraging debt through loan from banks, particularly this situation in adverse economic conditions, resulting in unserviceable debt burden. You know, in India, the total addressable demand for external credit, it is estimated to approximately 38 trillion, where the finance available from bank and other financial institutions, it is only 15 to 18 trillion. So it directly it can say that a total credit gap is there for MSME sector. This credit gap is approximately rupees 20 to 23 trillion. Therefore, it's very much important that SMEs are to be listed exclusive SME exchange platform, which will enable them to access the capital market for raising equity capital, which provides a practical and viable alternative for raising fund through IPO. In West Bengal government is a leading state in MSME, as Mr. Jhajur correctly pointed out, and MSME and T department felt that SMEs of West Bengal are very keenly interested in considering alternative equity financing through capital market, but it is the lack of awareness that hinders SMEs to take advantage of listing in the stock exchange. Although there is dedicated SME platform in operation since in the country since 2012, I think. Recognizing the importance and necessity of SME exchange as an effective and viable alternative platform for raising capital through IPO for SMEs, the MSME and T department hold state MSME conclave event in 2018 August, where a dedicated session was organized in association with the two largest popular stock exchanges, that is, one is National Stock Exchange, another is Bombay Stock Exchange, to facilitate Bengal's MSME to grab the opportunity for listing in the SME exchange platform. And Mo was also signed with NSC and BSC for capacity building of the state's MSMEs to raise funds from the market and list on stock exchanges. The number of the Bengal MSMEs listed in SME exchanges platform was 23 in 2018. I don't know what is the exact number, but it is expected that it is much more from 23. It may be mentioned here that under the new composite criteria-based classification of MSMEs, in 2020 June, their classification has been changed from the earlier definition of MSMEs. So, with the change in this criteria, we can expect a large number of section of enterprise will again come under the purview of MSME sector, which widened the scope of SMEs to avail the benefit of SME exchange platform. In the current COVID-19 pandemic, even this situation and the economic slowdown, it is imperative NSE needs to play an active role in increasing awareness among the SMEs on the opportunities to raise the capital, SME exchange guidelines, etc., and also provide handholding support regarding the listing process and regulatory compliances and other requirements that are required for getting enrolled in this SME listing. And last but not the least, I should mention here that role of chambers like FICI and other state level chambers, it's also very critical. They need to identify potential SMEs and sensitize them regarding the advantage of listing and related benefits. It is also essential to provide information on support service providers like merchant bankers, registrar and transfer agencies, depositories, and other intermediaries to potential SMEs. At this moment, from Government of West Bengal, we can only say that if a good proposal that may come from either FICI or NSC or BSC or other platforms, definitely Government of West Bengal will be there. We will be always there to support, and we will handhold for motivating our SMEs so that they can grab this opportunity and can go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Deepan.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Sen. It was really encouraging, whatever you just now mentioned. And going back to what you said regarding the MOU, so that was a fantastic moment for the exchanges as well. And across the states, NSC has done a lot of memorandum of understanding for the capacity building across states with all the MSMEs. I think we have put forward a proposal for renewal of that memorandum, and so that we can take the capacity building of the MSMEs ahead. And whatever is required from the exchange end to handhold the MSMEs so that they can get a first-hand experience of the equity financing that would be done from the stock exchange part. I think Rachna is here, so Rachna will also endorse the same, and we have been doing it with a lot of state governments. So thank you once again to you for addressing. Now we have our speakers. We have Ms. Rachna Bhusari, who is the Vice President, SME Business Development, National Stock Exchange of India Limited. We have Mr. Gaurav Jain, who is the Director of HAME Securities Limited. HAME Securities Limited is a CB registered Category 1 merchant bankers, and he has been helping SMEs for a decade now to access equity. And I'm very happy to have Mr. Sanjay Goenka, the Managing Director of Hincon Chemicals, one of the companies who got listed on the NSC SME Emerge platform. And I think his journey has been instrumental, and he will also be sharing his experience, how Hincon has grown over the years, becoming a listed entity, and what's the road ahead. So, taking on the discussion, I think we'll keep it interactive with the speakers, and I request all the participants who have joined to post their questions on the chat box, so that post the interaction, we can have an interactive session with the Q&A. So to start off with, I think Rachna, I'll come to you in terms of if you can highlight as to the journey started around 8 years back, and how NSC has made it a simple and an easier process for MSMEs. I mean, most of the MSMEs who have joined, they must be thinking like listing, equity listing. These are all for largely maybe of for the larger corporates. But how NSC has helped the SMEs over the period of time in way of simple and easier norms to list themselves on the exchange. Over
Yeah,
to you.
sure. Thank you, Dipon, for posing a very relevant question to me. And before I begin, I would want to thank Vicky for organizing this event. Dr. Ms. Mause, she, I think, set the expectations very right, and I must applaud the initiatives of West Bengal for development of MSMEs, and the MOU that we have executed with them, and we've done multiple programs across the state of West Bengal. So thanks, madam, and we hope to continue our relationship with you, and ensure that we are able to cover more and more entrepreneurs under this awareness creation campaign that has been started by NSE. And thanks, Ms. Thanks, Ms. Ghosh and Mr. Charger for setting the tone of the event. And I also must welcome, say hello and a very good evening to my fellow panel members, Mr. Sanjay Goenka and Mr. Gaurav Jain, for getting time out of their busy schedule and making it here to share their experiences and also to guide the entrepreneurs. So thank you so much, sir. Coming back to the question that Dipon has put up for us, what is the process of listing, or is it simplified? Is it complicated? Should entrepreneurs be worried about this listing process? So to begin with, I'll just start saying that, the criteria, the eligibility criteria for any SME company to list on NSE or to list on the SME platform, and we have the NSE Merge platform, is very simple. The definition that has been under the MSME Act is not applicable here. The definition here is very simple. Any company with a paid up capital of less than 25 crores is eligible to list onto the stock exchange. So the only criteria which was specified by the regulator is on the basis of the paid up capital. And NSE has added several more hygiene checks onto the eligibility criteria. And we said that any company with a paid up capital of less than 25 crores, having a 3-year track record of their business, and out of the 3 years of their business activities, they should have had a profit of at least 2 years. And at the time of application, the company's net worth should be positive. So with these 3 simple criteria, any SME is eligible to list themselves onto the stock exchange. An important point to note here is that there is no criteria which is based on turnover, profit, size of the company, number of employees. So that has no relevance on eligibility criteria. What we look out is only the criteria that I have specified for you. So the first message that I would want to give all the entrepreneurs here is that the criteria is very simple, and we mostly see most of the SME companies meeting this criteria of 3 years of track record and 2 years of profitability. Next comes the thing about access of equity funding, and it's a new or it's an alternate funding mechanism. So what bothers the entrepreneurs is that they're so used to getting themselves funded from the debt, by the debt from the banks, that they are not either aware of or they're apprehensive of accessing alternate funding mechanisms, because they have always been used to debt funding mechanisms. But let's all understand this, that at a point of time, debt funding will not suffice you to fund your businesses and promote your business growth and have a larger business or a larger corporate house. At a point of time, it is important that you have a good combination of equity and debt on your books, so that you are able to encash and capitalize on your on your equity and raise funds from time to time when you need it. So the process is very, very simplified. It is that you have to file an DRHP with the exchange, and the exchange grants an in-principle approval here. A major differentiation between a large corporate or a main board listing as compared to an SME listing lies here. The difference is that you get an SME approval for kicking off your IPO from the exchange itself. SEBI does not come into the picture while giving approvals. So because of this, the time frame to get your approvals is shrunk a lot, and you are able to not only get funds, but you're able to get timely funds, because that is again a very, very important perspective about an SME entrepreneur. It's just not the need of the funds, it's the need of the funds in the right hour. And this kind of facility of and granting an in-principle approval at the exchange level allows you to tap that benefit and have a timely funding mechanisms for yourself. So that's again a very, very simplified process. And the other problem that bothers most of the entrepreneurs is about listing coming under regulatory scrutiny, about continual disclosure norms. So again, a lot of dispensations have been given by the regulator and by the exchanges on your disseminations, on your various submissions, and whatever submissions have been prescribed and stipulated are very important for building an internal discipline amongst the corporates, for building an transparency and confidence among the stakeholders and investors who have invested into your company. And believe me, the process of compliances should not ever be a bothering factor to any entrepreneur, because NSE, along with the merchant bankers, take it upon themselves to ensure that we walk through the entire process with you. So let me be very, very emphatic to the point here is that we are not with you only because you've thought about listing. We walk the path with you, introduce you to the merchant bankers, put you onto the right other intermediaries, guide you about how you should go about the listing process, and post listing also. My team and our regional teams are always in touch with the promoters to help them understand the nuances of compliances, what is the mode of filing, how we can help them. So we are there throughout the process. And that is why I make it a point again and again to emphasize that it is not only a seamless, simplified process, but it's also a process where NSE team handhold you throughout the process. So, it's just very important for you to understand that it's the decision to take forward and get yourself listed on this platform, which is the toughest decision. Post that decision, the journey is much easier. Having you made up your mind to take this path, to walk this path, the journey is quite simplified with all the ecosystem partners there to help you out. Yes, Devon,
Yeah.
over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, Rachna, I think you have set it right. And taking a leaf as to what you said, I think Gaurav, you can just come in. So, as Rachna has mentioned, it is a easier and a simplified process, and the promoters also need to make up their mindset. Gaurav, I would like to know from you regarding, because we have entrepreneurs here, they would be having the question regarding the time frame as to what can be the period of listing and what can be the probable cost associated, and at what kind of a valuation can the company be listed. So if you can throw some light on these aspects, being the merchant banker who will handhold and guide them in the process.
Thank you, Dipon. On behalf of Him Securities, I would like to thank Vicky for having us here. We have been doing this with NSE for long now, whereby like large number of webinars are being conducted throughout India just to spread awareness about MSME listing. Dipon, I feel the most important point, just to come to your point specifically, I would like to tell all the attendees today. We have seen large number of companies listing from a 5-10 crores turnover to a 500 crore turnover, from a 10-20 lakhs profits to a 20-25 crores of profits. So the ecosystem that has been created by NSE is so vast and is for everyone, whereby all sized company can list and try to raise money on the SME platform. This is what probably I would like to pass message. In terms of process is concerned, time is concerned, basically, as far as time is concerned, usually it takes 4 to 5 months time, whereby initial 2.5 months time goes in the due diligence process, whereby the entire application is being created. Another 3 weeks time by NSE in terms of getting the same, looking at the file applications, approving the same and everything, and then marketing and launching the IPO. So usually 4 to 5 months is the general process. I'll talk about the process, what all goes in process, what all things company has to be prepared for and everything. So initially merchant banker is being appointed. What he do is we look at 4 or 5 important things. Number one, we do financial due diligence. So last 3 years accounts are taken for the company. I'll interrupt here. Only company is eligible for listing. So in case if you are partnership, LLP, then the same can be easily converted into company. In case if you are proprietorship, then a company needs to be formed. In case if you already have experience of 3 years in the same line of business, then something can be done, but we would not be able to showcase your business earlier financials to the applicant. So this is something which would be deterring. But partnership firms, private limited companies, LLPs, things are very, very simpler. So what we do is, we do financial due diligence for the company. We look at their last 3 years financial statements. and then we restate the same from the chartered accountant. What restatement would mean is there would be some sort of grouping error, there would be some provision that needs to be taken, you have not taken care of that. For example, gratuity provisioning and everything. There could be few things that was required by accounting standards, the same has not been done. So SEBI and NSE gives you power finally before going to public, in case if you have to recorrect your accounts, then the same can be restated. So this is what we do. Last 3 years accounts, financial accounts are restated. So this is one aspect that is taken care of. Then we look at the secretarial aspect of the company, all sort of ROC filings in terms of meetings, shareholders meetings and everything, all things have been documented. So largely for all the MSME companies, documentations are really poor what it should have been. So our team provide handholding in terms of completion of the same. So right from the day of inception of the company, we create documents. The entire thing is very simplified in 2.5 months time. The same is being done because our team provides complete handholding on the same. So first is financial due diligence, then you have secretarial due diligence, then we also do legal due diligence, whereby a legal advisor is also associated with the IPO by a merchant banker. The entity looks at what all regulations are applicable to the company, has company registered with all the regulatory authority, what is required. Then legal due diligence would also cover in case if you talk about that we have these properties, then they would look at the property paper and everything. They look at the loan paper. They look at the litigations, whether any litigations which are pending against the company or by the company against the promoter, by the promoter. So having litigation is not an issue. The only thing is we have to properly showcase the same in prospectus. Prospectus is the application that goes to exchange. So whatever that you have done, in case if you finally disclose the same in prospectus, that is okay. Still, after reading that, in case if applicant is applying in your company, this is what like probably SEBI and NSE wants, that you disclose everything before raising money. So legal due diligence is another part. Then we talk about company, we talk about industry in the prospectus, we talk about promoters, their background and everything. So all these things are covered. So prospectus would be a 300 to 400 pager booklet that is being prepared by the merchant banker in 2.5 months time with the help of company. So merchant banker provides checklist to the company. What we usually recommend to all the companies looking forward for MSME listing is that you provide 1 to 2 persons from the company's end who can start working on the company. So we would provide helping him in completion of all documents and everything, but you need to have person who can actually do it. So what it means is we can give you the entire architecture. We can guide you in how the same would be done and everything. We can also help you in doing the same, but on a consistent basis, there has to be some person in the organization who would execute things, the basic information that is required by a merchant banker. Going ahead, because like we are dealing with MSME companies and we have listed large number of companies from India, from various sectors across various states, in case if company even requires support to create basic data and everything. So we also can advise people who can come to company premises, sit there and then help company in curating the data required by a merchant banker. So due diligence process is the most important process in the entire IPO thing. So this activity is done for 2.5 months time. Then the application goes to exchange. Exchange takes 3 weeks time. Then we do all sort of filings with ROC, marketing and everything. So this is the whole idea. Intermediaries involved during the entire process would be merchant banker. Then you have registrar. Then you have the, like probably who would help you to take connectivity from NSD and CDSL. So they would convert your physical shares into electronic demat form. So registrar is one entity that would be inducted. Then we have printers later on before like probably the IPO opens. Then we also choose advertisement agency, basic minimum advertisement that needs to be given. So minimum 2 advertisements are very surely required. One before IPO, one after the IPO is complete. So advertiser is there. Then we have legal advisors. So these are prominent, important intermediaries forming part of the entire process, then of course, very importantly, chartered accountant from the company side, an association linkage with them is important so that we can complete the entire exercise very comfortably. Also, one thing is required to be noted for chartered accountant. In case if any MSME company is looking forward to list, then chartered accountant needs to hold a peer review certificate. Peer review certificate is issued by ICAI, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So this is nothing but re-audit of the audit done by the auditor. So in case if an auditor has done audit for last 3 years, this particular person who would re-audit the same, a person who is an auditor and also holding peer review certificate can re-audit himself. So in case if I am the auditor of a company, I am the statutory auditor, I have done work for company, I have signed their accounts for last 3 years time, I can re-audit that, I can restate that, but I need to hold peer review certificate. In case if the same is not available with your chartered accountant, then he needs to apply to ICA. Usually the same comes in 2 to 3 months time. Largely we have seen, in case if it is taking time, then chartered accountant help you get associated with another chartered accountant whom he can probably tell is working and everything to expedite the entire process. So this is what was about the process, about time. That's what we have spoken.
Okay, thanks, Gaurav. I'll come back to you maybe on the valuation part, but we move on, and I would like Sanjay ji, Mr. Sanjay Goenka, to come in now. Mr. Goenka, Sanjay ji, you have had the experience of listing on the NSE Emerge platform, so I'm sure all the participants who are present here, the esteemed entrepreneurs. So, Sanjay ji, if you can first start off with in terms of highlighting what were the pre-listing mindset, pre-listing preparation, and then finally, how did you take the plunge into the listing sphere?
First of all, I would like to thank NSE and FICCI West Bengal for giving me the opportunity to participate and share my views in this webinar on alternate source of funding of small and medium enterprises, popularly known as SME. As you asked, first for pre-listing process, we have to first set of mind, means development of idea. First, I have to go for that. After that, we have to see we meet the criteria or not. For that, we have to appoint a lead manager or a merchant banker like that. They will advise what Mr. Pratik Jain told you everything from him security. So they will guide everything with the help of our chartered accountant. Only for that, he told you for the track record of last 3 years, company should be a profit making. There is no criteria for the limit. What is your MBCS? What you want? All is the pre-listing process. Without development of idea, we cannot do anything. So, whatever Ms. Rachna told and Mr. Jain told, that all are the process of pre-listing process. First, what the promoter want is to development of idea. After that only, without idea, we cannot. When I have set mine accordingly, and accordingly I have done everything. First, I have already converted my company into the limited company name. So all legal formalities and I have ambitious to go for a listing, and accordingly I have appointed a merchant banker and move for the pre-listing process and achieve that.
Okay. Thank you, Sanjay ji. I think you summed it up well. Of course, exchange is there. We would be the platform provider, and merchant banker plays the most important role here in terms of getting the company organized, making all the preparation, and then filing the papers and making sure that the issue is subscribed and you are a listed entity. So I'll just get back to Rachna now. Rachna, of course, in the chat box also, I can see a couple of suggestions, or you can say a couple of queries as well. With NSC, like for all these years, if you can, from the exchange perspective, what would be the major, say, 4 or 5 benefits that the company would be enjoying? I mean, if a MSME is taking the plunge of listing, of course, financing, getting the money from the market is one part, but what are the bigger advantages of listing? if that can be highlighted, and also if some light can be thrown on the different sectors. I mean, we are sector agnostic, so the different sectors that have actually got the advantage of this MSME listing, because we have entrepreneurs from different sectors in this FICCI meet.
Yeah. So now with respect to what are the benefits that are available to a listed entity, this is my favorite topic. I can go on and on because the benefits are a galore of benefits that entail listing to any corporate, whether it is a larger corporate or a smaller corporate. But because I am here talking about an SME platform, I'll just very focused talk on what are the benefits that an SME enjoys by being a listed entity. First is you are able to actually get funds to infuse capital into your company. So that's the first obvious benefit that you are able to tap from and access an alternate funding mechanism. You are now able to actually tap equity funding from the capital market. So this is your first benefit, that you get funds and you venture into capital markets. That's very, very important. The second is that because now you are a listed entity and you are into the capital markets, your scrutiny is deeper. Your disclosures are very open and very transparent, and it is being looked upon and weighted upon by a lot of stakeholders into this ecosystem. So because of this, because of listing, you tend to enjoy higher visibility, because it's very important here that anything that you're doing in your company, whether you bag a big order or you're able to have a great collaboration with or a tie-up with any company or any partnership with any association, you disseminate this information to the shareholder, to the exchange, and the exchange puts it on the terminals of all the brokers. So that's around 2.5 lakh terminals your information is flashed. So this is the kind of visibility that a company enjoys by being a listed entity. Credibility goes notches higher being a listed entity, because not only the shareholders, but your partners, your suppliers, your bankers, they start looking at you differently because you are a listed entity. Your credibility is higher because now you are under the scrutiny of a regulator. You are not a regulated entity, which presupposes that most of the things are on the right track, and the promoter has a right frame of mind to get into capital markets, get into the disclosure regime, and be transparent of its dealings with all the stakeholders. So again, this all leads to a better credibility of the promoter and the organization, builds a lot of trust on the company as well as on the promoters. The fourth obvious benefit that we have seen from all the SME entrepreneurs and heard from the SME entrepreneurs are that they are able to enjoy better banking terms by being a listed entity. So, most of the banks have this differentiation of lending rates when it's a listed corporate and it's an unlisted corporate. And any small difference of a basis points in lending to an SME obviously benefits the company directly to the bottom line. And you're able to have a squeezed expense or a squeezed interest outflow, which obviously benefits your profitability, and you're able to have better margins in performing in doing your business activity. So that's an obvious benefit. And all the promoters here who have been listed on this NSE platform vouch that this is a big differentiation that they have seen once they are a listed entity. Some of our entrepreneurs have even come back and told us that, some applications which were being reviewed by the government agencies, either by the export permissions that they were looking out for, or quality purposes, they were seeking out some information. The lens with which the authorities view the company changes drastically when it is a listed entity. So again, that's the benefit you enjoy by being a listed entity. Your corporate governance starts falling in place, which again builds trust and confidence of the company. There is an internal discipline that is built across the team. They know that this is a deadline for submission of these things, and let's get prepared for it. So our promoters have told us that earlier it was they who were chasing that, you need to get this done, you need to get this done. But later on, over a period of time, he said that, the team started chasing me, ki, sir, today is the deadline, kindly sign this, we have to send it to the exchange. So that's the kind of differentiation the promoters have noticed in the functioning of a listed company. The internal team becomes more cohesive, and they take the responsibilities very aptly, and they become very thorough in what they are submitting to the exchange. So that's again a very important benefit. Retention of talent and absorption of talent at SME companies become a challenge. So again, once you're a listed entity, you have a very, very handy tool in your hand, which is the ESOPs. You can offer ESOPs as a great motivating tool to your employees to retain talent. So that's important benefit that we have seen out of our listed companies taking on this platform. Your shares can be pledged. It's an effective currency which allows you to have an appropriate valuation into the capital markets. Another important benefit is that you are able to tap wider means of capital. You can have a preferential allotment done. You can do a rights issue. You have a better debt equity leverage on account of this equity infusion. So what happens is that you are able to, in fact, have more debt infusion into your company because you are a listed entity. So like I said, I can go on and on with the benefits, but I have Mr. Sanjay Goenka, who can actually, I'm talking theory, but he can actually be practical about it and say, what benefits he enjoyed out of listing. And I would be very happy, and I appreciate that, I can understand that actually what we say are the benefits that a promoter would entail from listing already have accrued to him, and he's benefited by being a listed entity. So we can also share some experiences of Mr. Goenka on this benefits. Yeah, Deepan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, Rashna, you summed it up. And I think this last point that you were mentioning about equity being the currency, I think if we consider NSE, the Nifty 50, or maybe the top 100 companies as per market cap, so wherever we see that their equity has been a source of debt. So debt and equity, they give you a good balance once you become a listed entity as well. Uh, Before going to Sanjay ji on the actual benefits, Gaurav, even on the chat box also, I can see certain things. So maybe in the first round, what you didn't highlight, if you can highlight, like promoters would be keen on, like if they are, parting with equity is a kind of parting away with ownership. So there needs to be a kind of a valuation that needs to come into the picture. I mean, promoters would be thinking at what kind of X or Y valuation they should be placing the shares to the public. So since you have handled so many issues over the years, maybe with some live examples also, if you can throw some light on the valuation process and how the promoters should look into the valuation at the early starting of their listing journey.
Okay, I feel this is a very important question that, like, probably any entrepreneur, any MSME company would like to know. Largely, what we have seen on the SME platform, whatever is your profits after tax, so you take that amount multiplied by 8 to 10. So, for example, in case if your profits after tax are 2 crores, so it would be into 8 is 16 crore, into 10 is 20 crores. So your valuation of shares for the purpose of IPO is between 16 to 20 crores. You come up with minimum 25-26% IPO. So then the IPO size is somewhere around 4 to 5 crore rupees. This is the basic thumb rule followed 80% of time. In good market, sometimes the valuation goes up, maybe a 14 multiple. We have even seen multiple going to 20 multiple in good times. And in bad time, it reduces to 5 to 6 multiple. So 8 to 10 is the ballpark figure, what you can think in terms of valuation of your company is concerned. Second question is, sometimes people have not showcased proper profits in their books and everything. Maybe profits were 4 crores, 2.5 crores is what is reflected on books and everything. So then promoter thinks maybe I'm selling my company cheap, and all those thoughts starts coming up. Look, you have to start somewhere. You would never be able to showcase all sort of profits, even though you knew it every time. Then also, like, probably you have not done it. What we recommend is that you start the listing process. Whatever is there, you start with that. grow the company eventually, shift your mindset from tax saving to wealth creation mindset, showcasing proper profit so that valuations can be generated, shares can be sold at higher valuations and everything. All these things are usually possible. So 8 to 10 multiples of profits after tax is what you should look forward in terms of total valuation of the company, then 25-26% dilution. Start the process. This is what like probably we can say, so that at any point of time, as and when company grows, you can dilute further. This is what like probably even companies have done. What companies have also done is they have tried listing their company initially, and they ask their known one to invest in their companies, because these are people who have full faith in these companies, in these promoters. So they apply in their IPO. This is also what we have seen initially.
Okay. So I think you have given a good amount of clarity, Gaurav, on the kind of valuation. And I think it was important, as you mentioned, that we need to start. I mean, promoters need to start somewhere, because it is a journey. And if we don't start today, then we would not be having the benefits in the near future. Sanjay ji, coming back to you, like as Gaurav mentioned, that one needs to start. So you have already started. So last few years that you are now listed, how are you seeing Hincon now taking the next leap in terms of maybe, I think one aspect I would just like to highlight in this process is like MSMEs who are listed on NSE Emerge platform, they have an option of migrating to the main board. So Sanjay ji, your thoughts on maybe migrating to the bigger boards, go for some second or third round of say fundraising. So how do you see Hincon placed in the capital markets maybe in the next 2 to 5 years time? I know this is a challenging time, but I'm sure from next year onwards we will have some traction here. If you can throw some light on
With sufficient support from stock exchanges and in this COVID situation also, and because of our public issue at present, almost our company is a debt-free company. And
Yeah.
in this situation, we have all money for the next. We have all main plan first to we go to the main
Both.
platform
Yeah.
to meet that criteria. As soon as we meet that criteria, after COVID-19 situation overcome, we will go to the main platform. As we have already planned to set up a plant in Maharashtra, but due to COVID, we have to go back. At present situation, all precautionary measures, we cannot go there
Right.
because a lot of projects are there and we are approved vendor there for MSRDC, for their link C-link projects and MMRDC, MSRDC everywhere. But unfortunately, we cannot go over there at present. But very soon, as soon as the situation overcomes, we will go there and we list our company in the NSE main.
Right.
And with the help of this all money, we cannot money at present. Any MSME unit can go for any expansion with the help of this MSE Emerge platform. As you know, our MSME Minister, Mr. Gadkari, is also supporting MSME at this situation to go for the MSE Emerge platform and get money. Government will also support.
Right.
So we all are planning for that. And for this, merchant banker is play main role. All his support, we can achieve all our goals if our all norms are clear. Whatever Mr. Jain updated,
Right.
this is the main criteria.
Okay. So I think I'll also now go back to Dr. Sen as well, Mo Sen. I think with this MSME package, or say the equity options also now being worked out by the central government, I think even the state government will also be looking into some kind of maybe either some fund creation, or maybe some aspect whereby the equity financing can also be helped out for the MSMEs. I think, ma'am, we were looking into that kind of a scenario. I think few years back, we were into a fund creation thing and we did something. But now again, we are only into the capacity building. But that would be also in the cards for the MSME department in terms of maybe create a fund or maybe a venture fund for the MSMEs to get some amount of funding on the equity side.
As of now, there is no such fund. As earlier, it was 200 crores of fund was kept as venture capital.
Right.
But as of now, for this financial year, not yet decided. But I don't. I think if there is some proposal and some proposal may come from any forum, we can look into that. One thing government of West Bengal from our department we have done, we are going to launch one online loan portal. Again, that is directly linked with the bank. And as you know, there is lot of because of especially because of this pandemic and maintenance of physical distance, getting loan and visiting to either MFC, BIC or to bank, it is also not very smooth for entrepreneurs. So what we think that right now in one way this going for this IPO will be a very good option for our MSMEs too. So, and
Right.
we should all hand in hand we should all try to give them awareness for this MSME listing.
Right. Right. So I think we have the overall structure here in terms of what NSC is doing, giving the platform for listing, what are the criteria, what is the eligibility. Gaurav explained as to what can be the process. Sanjay ji said as to how the pre-listing preparation and how post-listing the company can grow. Rashna highlighted on the benefits as to what can be the larger benefits of the listed entities, especially the visibility among the stakeholders, getting leveraging debt out of equity, as well as the valuation process. What Gaurav highlighted is to this a value creation model. I think I will also now come into a couple of things that has been posted in the chat box as to Mr. Ashok Bengani. Like Mr. Bengani is very known to us, president of West Bengal, president of IFJA and Calcutta Gems, and Gaurav, he wants to understand like maybe the expenses or maybe the cost structure to have an issue of close to say 250 crores, or maybe if we don't even think about the quantum of the size of the IPO, what can be the kind of tentative approximate cost structure for launching an IPO on the NSE SME platform? If you can just highlight something.
I feel there are two costs associated with it. We have seen IPOs ranging from 2.5 to 4 crores. Let's assume a 4 crore IPO at the bottom and maybe a 50 crore IPO to 100 crore IPO. There are two costs attached to it. One is the fixed cost. That would be approximately 35-40 lakh rupees that goes in terms of fixed cost is concerned. Then there is a fundraising cost. It again ranges from maybe a 5 to 8%, 9%, depending on company to company, sector to sector, time to time. So these two costs are attached. We again need to understand a fixed cost to start the IPO, and then in case if you're trying to raise fund. So suppose take an example, you are doing an IPO of 20 crores. There is a fixed cost attached for 40 lakhs, and there is a fundraising cost attached maybe for example 7%. So even though like probably your overall cost is somewhere around 7 to 10%, at this point in time we pay 7-8%, 9% to bank yearly with collateral givens and everything. Here you are raising money without collateral, and then like a greater market cap can be created. So in case if you're doing a 20 crore IPO, for example, it means with 20 crore is the 25%, it means 80 crores would be 100%. You look forward to move your company from a 80 crores, 100 crore company to a 200, 500 crore company. So this is the starting process. This is what like probably I would like to make people understand here. Out of the fixed cost, around 15 lakh rupees goes initially in various stages before IPO comes. Rest everything can be taken after IPO is done.
Okay. So I think that was the last part was most important. I think most of the promoters should not be discouraged about the fact that the quantum is maybe 30 or 40 or 50. So it is only just negligible front when it comes just to start the process, and the entire cost can be borne from the IPO proceeds. Rachna, there is also some kind of inquiry like regarding the eligibility that we had spoken about. So, like the proprietorship firm is there, it has been incorporated, or maybe private limited has happened, but it does not fulfill the criteria of 3 years. But the director has the requisite experience. So, from the exchange perspective, I think we should be okay in getting these company on board as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I will just clarify on the eligibility criteria. I'll go a notch a little technical on that, a notch little lower, and explain, dig into the criteria. Our criteria says 3 years of track record. When I say 3 years of track record, necessarily need not be as your entity of private limited company that you should be a 3-year-old track record. If you are a sole proprietor or you are a partnership doing the same business for n number of years, then the 3-year track record benefit would be passed on to these entities as well. So a newly incorporated public limited company or a private limited company also becomes eligible to list on NSE in spite of they not having a 3-year track record as a company. Okay, but because the promoters, by virtue of their running their businesses in the same line, and they were existing as a sole proprietor or a partnership, can still list themselves onto the stock exchange. So that's very, very clear that you do not lose your eligibility just because you're a newly incorporated company.
Okay. I think, Mr. Sajid, you have also posted something like, is NSC looking at the option of coming forward for financing? So, I mean, would like to know from you, like you are talking about whether the NSC is coming as a kind of a financing from the exchange end. Like NSC in this aspect, we are the platform provider, and we help companies to list on the stock exchange, and it is the merchant banker who actually helps raise the fund from the market. So I think the financing part, or say the option or the thing of fundraising, is being taken care by the merchant banker. Gaurav, somebody has also inquired about the, I mean, the subscription part. I mean, now that the subscription would be there, so how does the merchant banker they do look into that the 100% is subscribed, the shares are subscribed, and money is being raised. So if you can just highlight maybe on the marketing part and how the subscription part happens in this SME IPO case.
Sure. So like probably all the SME IPOs are 100% underwritten. This is the rule by SEBI. And in case a merchant banker is opening IPO, then like probably company can be rest assured largely that amount would be raised. So whenever merchant banker takes up anything, uh, before signing of the mandate is concerned, large quantum of he would have assessed whether like probably money would be raised in the assignment or not. So company would not company should like probably have any second thought in terms of this. In case if an IPO is signed and in case if IPO opens, then money would be raised.
Right. And also coming back to you, Gaurav, like there is also one more query as to the valuation is basically based on the net profit, or like even gross profit, or maybe the EBITDA margins can also be considered.
It would be largely profits after tax.
Okay. So I think most of the questions that were posted on the chat box is covered. I think somebody has also talked about that if the company is new and less than 3 years, is there any way to get listed? I think, Rashna, we have to wait at least on till the third year balance sheet is actually coming in. And I think it would be a relatively new period for the company to come to listing, maybe post without completing 3 years. So that can be also looked into maybe before 3 years, or it would be a case to case basis, right?
Yeah, I think it'll be better to assess the total overall performance, how the company has been, about what sector they are. Though we are sector agnostic, we are taking people from every sector. So today, while I talk to you, we have companies from 19 sectors across, whether it's manufacturing or it's healthcare, pharmaceuticals, food, and logistics. So we have multiple sectors that have been coming under this umbrella of 210 companies that are listed on. So I think it'll be too early for me to comment without looking at the background of the company, whether we would be taking just like this. We'll have to dig deeper into this information.
Right. Gaurav, one more query is there. Like, does the book value of share matters? Like, again, there would be a question in terms of the book value and the market value. But currently, one entrepreneur wants to know regarding this process. Like, does the book value of the share matters in terms of the valuation process?
I feel like probably it doesn't play a very important role, but yes, it plays some role. Whereby we try to see what is the book value of the company in case, because please understand, book value gets added up every year. As you make profit, it gets added to the reserves and book value increases. So over a period of time, your book value increases. In stock market, we works on profits after tax every year. So you would have experienced multiple times that a company bags a bigger order and then there is a jump in its prices, considering that their profits would increase maybe in the current year and everything. So it's more about every year profitability that we usually get into stock markets rather than the book value. I would also like to share out of maybe broadly in India, in case if 5,000-6,000 share companies would have been listed, 3,000 company shares would be less than book value. The market price of those shares of those companies would be less than book value, because book value keeps on increasing every time. You are not selling the company in entirety, whereby book value is seen largely, because only a fraction of amount is being given to a large quantum of people who doesn't have any say in the in board and everything. So that's the just to answer your question in the most simplified way.
Okay. So thanks, Gaurav. I think we have covered almost every aspect. I think I haven't missed out anything. Mashmi, anything like maybe some other participants have inquired anything to Fiki, then I think we can also. I think you need to unmute, Mashmi.
Yes, what we normally do is, Mr. Mitra, is that, after this is over,
Right.
we kind of collate all the questions for the chat and we'd send that as a mail to you. So you
Right.
could also, and then, if there are some relevant questions and you would like to answer, you can get in touch with them and just answer it.
Okay. So I think one more has just come in, like regarding that 10,000 crore fund which has been announced by the Honorable FM. So Rashna, I think we don't have any clarity on the same currently from the ministry or maybe the regulator perspective. So people are inquiring on that one.
I've just replied in the chat box. Yeah, we are awaiting
Okay.
detailed and clarificatory guidelines from the government. Once
Right,
we have
right.
that, we will surely reach out to entrepreneurs.
Yes, we've been having regular interactions with the ministry as well. So I think this is the top of the line question which we are getting.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
And I think Fiki is in a better position than us to answer this, because they have been talking to the governments on a regular basis.
So I think in fact, MSME chairman, he's also been attending with the ministers meeting quite regularly. So we are all.
Yeah, we've also given our suggestions and recommendations. So we are hoping that we get more clarity onto this, because I think it's very much awaited detailed guidelines that is expected.
So with this, actually, I think we come to the, at least from our part, we come to the end. And before maybe Fiki gives the closing remarks, on behalf of NSC, I would like to thank Fiki. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the entire council, Mr. Chajar, Maushumi, Amrita, as well as I would like to thank Dr. Mo Sen for giving her precious time and joining. I thank Mr. Sanjay Goenka, Gaurav, as well as Rachna for taking out their time. And I think it has been an interactive session. I think many people, they have come up with their queries. I think there are a lot of things that can be said in theory, but practical aspects are something that we need to have a grasp on. And I have put forward my contact details in the chat box. Any query related to listing, I think this is a process, and we need to be a bit patient, all the entrepreneurs. It is not a overnight journey, or it's not like applying a loan with the bank. So I think Gaurav is there, NSC is there. We can take help from Mr. Goenka, who has already gone ahead with this journey, and Fiki. So we'll all definitely help you. And thank you once again to the entire FICCI team for organizing this webinar. And I am sure we will take this to other chapters across Eastern region with FICCI in the near future. So over to you, Maushami, if you can.
And thank you all. And one of the most important thing is that, if you'd like to reach out, if you have any further queries, you can actually send it to, the RSVP on the card. Amrita, you can, hello?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. I'll give my email ID also.
Yeah, you can give the FICCI WBSC or your email ID, and they can write to us and we will forward it to NSE.
Sure.
Yes.
And Amrita, like my number and Gaurav's details are also there. So anybody get in touch with FICCI, they can also get in touch with us in terms of going ahead. So thank you all. Thank you all the participants once more. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Maushami. Thanks, thanks, Mr. Charger. Thank you, Mr. Sanjay Goenka. And thanks, Gaurav Jain, for always being there, supportive. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. We look forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, FICCI, once again.